Welcome back to Truth Recon. I'm your host, AgentDBaker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran, now dedicated to exposing corruption, advocating for the missing, and giving a voice to those who have been silenced. Today's episode is one of the most powerful conversations we've had on this platform. I'm joined by Christy Bryant Robinson. She is a survivor of domestic violence, and she's turned her pain into purpose. Christy opens up about her personal journey, surviving abuse, finding healing through faith, and how meeting Jesus changed the entire direction of her life. But her story doesn't stop there. Christy is now part of the Warriors, a group pushing for groundbreaking legislation that would create a domestic violence offender registry. This is about accountability, it's about saving lives, and it's about making history. In this episode, you'll hear raw honesty, real courage, and unshakable faith. We talk about the darkest moments, the hardest battles, and the hope that comes when you choose to fight back, not just for yourself, but for others. So buckle up. This is a conversation that will challenge you, inspire you, and remind you that no matter how broken the story, it can be rewritten with purpose. This is my interview with Christy Bryant Robinson. Let's get into it.
Okay, first off, I just wanted to come and thank you, Derek, for giving me this platform. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how I ended up where I ended up and why I'm where I'm at today. So I grew up in Walker County. I grew up in a little town. I went to T.S. Boyd Elementary School, which is the elementary school you went to if you lived in Dora. It's not there anymore. Now they all go to Summiton. My mother, she taught school at Summiton Elementary for about 20 years. Daughter of a coal miner. He retired from Drummond Coal Company after 38 years. And I have an older brother. My older brother was a big football star. I was a pretty girl. I'm still kind of cute. I'm just fat now, okay? I was in a bad ATV accident when I was a teenager, and I hit my head in a certain spot. I had a subdural hematoma. I don't remember a lot about it. This was many years ago. I'm old now. I'm almost 52 years old. Still cute, but old. So I'm a little humorous, so y'all just have to overlook that. But this is a serious subject that I want to talk about. When I had that wreck, they took me to Caraway Hospital. My parents, it was the night it happened, it was their anniversary. And so they were at a friend's house, or at some other family member's house. And they didn't even know that it had happened. They called my aunt because we were at some mutual friend's house. I was a teenager, being cool. I did all the teenager stuff. I was an 80s girl, had the big hair. We were riding four-wheelers. This was before, they had those warning signs to wear the helmet on four-wheelers. So Caraway Hospital, which is closed down now. It's no longer there. Told them there was nothing they could do for me, so they sent me to UAB. They immediately did brain surgery. I had a subdural hematoma. It's where you have a blood clot in the lining of your brain, and if you don't release that, you're going to die, okay? There's been many celebrities that died with this. I also developed a condition called ARDS, Adult Respiratory Distress Syndrome, where your lungs start popping holes in them. And only like 20% of people that have this, they make it. So I wasn't supposed to live. I had internal bleeding. They worked on me. My mother told me one time for like 12 hours straight. I had lung failure, heart failure, and all medical, scientific, everything. If your child lives, she will be a vegetable. I can remember, this is my memory, and this is all going to make sense on how this ties into what else has happened in my life. I can remember waking up in a hospital bed, and I knew that I was very sick, and I knew something terrible had happened to me, but I could not remember what happened. And I saw my mother sitting in the corner. And I came from a family, a little bit just to add to this. My parents, I never saw them do drugs, ever. They taught us right from wrong. They would drink occasionally, like a New Year's Eve, have some friends over. I never seen them. I had a really good childhood. Really, really good supportive parents. My parents told me I could be anything I wanted to be. They believed in me. They've always supported me until they didn't. And I'll tell you that story too. So I woke up in this hospital room, and immediately I start grabbing all these tubes that are in me. So they tie my hands down. So I start making the little motion with my wrist to my mother because I wanted to write. Well, my mother looks at all these nurses. I don't remember what floor I was on. It was so many years ago. And she said, I think she wants to write. She's trying to communicate with me. Well, I just remember them taking her into this corner of this hospital room and saying, Miss Bryant, we don't want to see you get heartbroken because, she's not going to be able to do this. And my mother said, well, let's just let her try. So all these tests, no brain activity. If she lives, she's going to be a vegetable, all this stuff. I mean, family members were even asking, do you have burial insurance on her? Okay. So that's what happened. And I took this piece of paper, and I don't know why I wrote this, but my mother still has this piece of paper in her Bible. And I wrote, the nurses have been very complimentary of my eyes. Okay. So that was like a big deal. I had if you've ever been to UAB Hospital, it's like 32 city blocks. It's not a small hospital. It's probably, I don't know if it is, I don't know if it's facts or statistics, but it's probably the best hospital in the South. One of them anyway. So within like 30 seconds, there's every doctor from every nationality in my hospital room. Okay. And I'm a teenage girl. Okay. And I'm freaking out, telling me, and they're high-fiving each other. Well, the first thing my mother does was like, no, y'all need to go on. And she points to God. She said, he did it. And so a little bit about my religious background. I went to church, because this all ties into my story. I went to church as a child. I didn't go every time the doors were open. My mother was a Sunday school teacher for a while. Then her and my dad they didn't go anymore for work reasons and things like that. But they were still good, law-abiding citizens that taught us right from wrong and taught us to fear God. So I thought religion was a list of do's and don'ts that you had to do to get into heaven. I didn't realize it was about a relationship. So after I had this, my mother's the baby of 12 children, so I have 36 first cousins just on her side. So I come from this big, huge religious family, okay? And everybody was calling me their miracle girl. And I had an aunt that called me Lazarus. I mean, it was just crazy. I wanted no part of it, because I had TBI, traumatic brain injury. And when I had it back in the 80s, they didn't know anything about it like they do now. I woke up and I didn't know who I was anymore. So I tried to be what I thought everybody wanted me to be. And growing up in a small town like where I grew up, it was all about you don't air your dirty laundry. You just follow the crowd, the little cliques. And I didn't fit into none of those crowds. So I was really lost. So I got married really young, had a child, and went to college. I did all the things I was supposed to do. I got divorced too, married my high school sweetheart, great guy, great guy. We were just way too young. Had my son Blake, and I was a single mother. I worked 3 jobs. I went to school. I bought my first house before I turned 21 years old, and I put $40,000 down on it. I was determined, but I got the hell away from Walker County. Something about that place, I had to run, because here's the thing. It seemed like everybody that I was around were doing the same things. They were all, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is just not what I wanted. They were all marrying their high school sweethearts. It was kind of like the Stepford Wives, okay? And I couldn't do that. I couldn't be true to myself and do that. I've always been weird. And back then, people didn't embrace weird like they do today, okay? So I didn't fit in. So the people I did fit in and accepted me were kind of the degenerates, let's just be honest. So I started trying some drugs, okay? I always worked, though. I always took care of my kid. Never got addicted to anything. It was just fun for the weekends, okay? I was a party girl. Took 3 hits of acid one time, went to Six Flags, had a blast. Raved in New Orleans with the best of them. Did a lot of traveling. I wanted to get as far away from Alabama as I could. I really don't know why, because I love it here now. I mean, I don't like the politics here, but I mean, my family's here. I was a runner for years. And a lot of this was because of, that TBI that I didn't know anything about. And they know so much about it now that if I would have got the proper treatment and counseling for, which I've had now I've been to therapy, but I didn't then, probably wouldn't have made some of the bad decisions I made. I was also diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Now, I was in denial about that for a long time. I was like, no, I don't have this. Because a therapist one time told me that if you have borderline personality disorder, that it's where you only see things in black or white, and that's not true. So once he said that to me, I had that in my head, that's what that was. That's not what it is. When I got grown and I learned about it for myself and I actually sought therapy for it, I know there's no medication for this. This is a personality disorder. You have to go to therapy to learn how to distinguish it and from what's real and what's not real. And I did all that hard work. So I'm proud of myself for that. So it doesn't affect me like it did when I was younger. But I'm a product of the Oxycontin epidemic. My older brother, like I said, he was a star football player, played well. He got hurt and he broke his back and did a lot of things. Well, this doctor, first thing he did was write him a prescription for Oxycontins. Well, some of my friends found out about it because, at this point in my life, I tried some drugs. I never liked cocaine or anything like that. I don't know what all I can say on here, Derek. I'm just trying to be real, raw, and honest with you guys. So I didn't like stuff like that. I smoked a lot of pot. Now, I loved my pot then. But I couldn't do it all the time because I always worked and my job was more important. These Oxycontins came out. Well, I tried one. Let me tell you, I had a low self-esteem because of what I'd been through. I also gained a lot of weight after I had all this happen. So my self-esteem was really low. These Oxycontins, I didn't have no pain. I didn't need no Oxycontins. Made me feel like I was a supermodel runway Cindy Crawford. That's what they did to me. Not the first time, but after a few times. Okay, my house could have burnt down. I could have got fired. My dog could have got ran over, and I did Oxycontin. And
hey, just say OC. I just don't want us to get shut down.
Okay. I did an OC, and my life was great. That's how it was. Now, I was a functioning addict for many years. Functioning addict. Teetering on here and that. Now, my oldest son, he'll tell you to this day, he's 32 years old. He never knew anything that was going on about this in my life because I kept it away from him because I was a weekend person. And I always worked and I always took care of everything. So, how my slant into domestic violence and all that started. I was living in New Orleans, and well, this is actually before I knew this guy before I moved to New Orleans. And I have forgiven him. I have forgiven myself. But sometimes, when you're in this cycle of domestic violence and addiction and, these toxic environments like what I was in, you have to get up and forgive yourself all over again every day. So sometimes I have to do that. So we went through Katrina. His mother offed herself after Katrina. It was just a hard time living in New Orleans after Katrina, seeing the aftermath of all that, what all had happened in my life. And then on my son's 16th birthday, I found out I was going to have another baby, which has been a blessing, but I'm going to tell y'all right now, I was shocked because I didn't think I could have any more kids. And we decided, after all we'd been through, we were going to move back home to Alabama. And I had not lived in Walker County in years because I left when I was 18, or I was 17, I left. And all the people that I knew before were on meth.
And how old were you when you moved back?
It was 2008. So I was 36, okay? So all these people that I grew up with, not all of them, but a lot of them, were doing all this crazy stuff. And I just kind of fell into it. My daddy always told me, if you lay down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. And I never knew what he was talking about until it happened to me. Now, I still worked. The person I was with, he was in a bad accident. And he was driving and his passenger did not make this accident. I don't know what words I can say and what words I can't.
No, you're doing well.
And it had a profound effect on us, on him. He was injured, and he was, I don't know if it was 6 months before he could walk again. We didn't know if he was going to live or die. And he became dependent, especially on opiates. And I would get off of them for a while, like I didn't do them every day. Never did them every day. I would get off of them for a while. Now, needless to say, I didn't need them. I did not need them. It was the mental thing for me. He probably did need some, but it got too far. I was trying to, my oldest son, he had moved out. He's doing great. I gave him a really great childhood. I have a lot of guilt about my youngest son because I was not always the best mother to him because I moved somewhere, ended up pretty much losing everything financially, lost my job, all this stuff. So we ended up moving in with a relative, and this relative, although she's a good person, it just a lot of crazy stuff happened there. I mean, I never lived in a place where if I had money, and these are your relatives, you better make sure it was hid up in you, or when you woke up, you wasn't gonna have it. Okay. So my parents tried to help me several times. They didn't really know, and I did some bad stuff. I did some illegal stuff. I took some money one time from somebody that I shouldn't have took money from, and I had to pay it back. And my parents actually paid it back. Things that I'm so ashamed of, so ashamed of. But the thing about shame is it's a lot different than guilt, because God will show you grace and that shame can go away. And I just want to tell y'all what grace means to me. So what grace means, and God is always going to show you grace. It means that even though you might fail, you might screw up, you still know that you're loved. And even though you know that you don't deserve the forgiveness, it's offered. And so I think that all the grace God has shown me throughout my life and all these mistakes I made in my life, now I try to make them serve a purpose instead of serving my pain, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
So I ended up just in a really bad situation. I seen what all was going on in Walker County. My parents, they tried to help me so many times. God love them, and I just want you to know that they raised me right, and anything I ever did and my mistakes I made are no reflection of them. I did them all on my own. And I think a lot of parents of addicts have guilt and stuff. No. I just want any parent that's listening out there, if you've got an addict child, it's not you. It's not you. And sometimes tough love does work. Sometimes it don't. You know, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a licensed therapist. I can only tell you what I did for myself. So
What do you
my
think?
relationship, I'm
What do you
sorry.
think the What do you think the turning point was for you? You said you had a good raising and your parents were great. What do you think the turning point was that made you go the opposite direction of that?
Hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom. It was my rock bottom, and my parents didn't want anything else to do with me. They loved me and they prayed for me, but they
No, no,
finally.
I'm sorry. What I mean is, what do you think was the turning point that made you go from being a good child to doing the things that you like? Can you Do you know exactly what caused that, or was it just a whole bunch of things?
I'm not trying to blame it on anybody else, because nobody ever held anything to my head and said, you got to do this. I think it was wanting to be accepted, and the people that accepted me, and the people, like I said before, if you hang out with successful people, you're going to be successful. If you hang out with drug addicts and criminals, you're going to be a drug addict and criminal. And that's what I preach to my kids. And you know that's what happened. And I don't think it's any one thing. I think it was a combination of a lot of things, for me personally. But if I would have been around people that were, I don't know, had goals and had dreams, instead of, hey, I want to get high, it would have been a lot different. I also, I didn't love myself. I didn't have boundaries. I was a doormat for years and years. I had a big heart and I wanted to be loved. And that's where part of the BPD comes in. You don't feel like, you're ever really loved, which is a lie. Straight, that's what the enemy wants you to think. So that was a big part of it. That's a tough question, Derek, for me. Some
Oh
people
yeah,
might can pinpoint it. I can't.
I've never had anyone that could pinpoint exactly. I mean, I
Really?
think you
Okay,
actually
I was
did,
starting to feel
but
self-conscious.
no, you answered that question very clearly to me when you said you wanted to be accepted, and that makes so much sense for sure.
So the violence,
Bluetooth disconnected.
it
Bluetooth connected.
what is that? Oh, okay. So it started out with
Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth connected.
emotional and mental abuse. This person would tell me that my own parents didn't love me, that people didn't like me because of the way that I am. And I'd be like, why don't people like me? He'd be, because of the way you are. And that's stuck in my head. So people say sticks and stones may break my bones, but that's totally no. Those words, any physical thing that's ever happened to me has not hurt me near as much as words have. Because I was already in a bad mental place. And then when you add so this is what I did though. I finally made the decision, hey, I'm going to get off these opiates for good. So I went to a Suboxone clinic. And the doctor told me, when I went in there that day, I was crying. And the doctor told me, he said, why are you crying? I said, you don't understand. This is a big life change for me to make up my mind that I don't want to go down this path anymore. Because what I would do is I would get on them for a while and I'd get off of them for a while. I'd get on them for a while and I'd get off of them for a while. And I was spending all this money and I was the only one working, okay? And when you got to support two habits, it's hard. And these things were not cheap. Not cheap at all. So I went and the doctor told me that he wished he could use me as a case study. So this is funny to me. I took them for about 3 months and I tapered off of them. And I have never wanted another opiate since. But then I traded one for the other. I had done, cocaine and what they called crank or whatever years ago. I tried it. It never was my thing. And where you put it on the full or whatever, shake and bake, that never was my thing. I didn't really care for that. But they had come out with this new thing called, okay? So I tried it one day. Hey, I liked this. I could get work done and still function and, I liked it. Well, then where I ended up, it was all around me. All around me. And finally I was like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. My parents had just about, I had taken my youngest son. He was in 2nd grade. And this is heartbreaking for me to tell. But I took him to my parents one day to keep him. And I knew he couldn't come back to where I was. I knew I didn't have the right place for him. And I never went back and got him. And I didn't answer my phone. And my parents didn't know what was going on. And I didn't do that because I'm a bad mother. I did that because I loved him more than anything in this world. Now he knows what I've been through. And we have the best relationship now. He knows his mama loves him more than anything in this world. And he knows that I'm out here doing this and telling all the hard things. All the things I have guilt about. All the things I'm ashamed of. Because I'm trying to help somebody else not go through this. So I wasn't one of those wives that got beat every day. It wasn't anything like that.
Let me interrupt you real quick.
Okay.
What you did for your child at that time was something that most people in your situation at that time they refuse to do. But what you did is the exact thing that you should have done. And that was what was absolutely at that time best for your child. And that's why they will always respect you for that decision, especially the older and wiser they get. That you made the absolute right decision that most people at that time don't make. And I commend you for that.
Thank you. That means a lot. And we're close now. I mean, every time something happens, I'm the first one he calls, okay? And he's thriving. He's a boy now. He's a little mischievous. I have boys. And both mine, let me just tell y'all, I didn't have none of these little, we're going to stay in the house and watch TV and play games. I didn't have boys like that. I had boys that ran the roads, made, dirt bikes and four-wheelers and bugs and fart in your face and all that. I didn't have no little girl, okay? I had mean little rough and tough boys. So I don't know. But, my kids are my world. They always have been. It got away from me for a while because of what happened. I don't want to focus too much on me being abused personally, even though I was. I want to focus on more recovery because I ended up, and if you watch my tagged video, that and the picture you've got up here, that is what I looked like. But it wasn't always him, because when this happened, now he says I hit him. I don't remember doing that. I may have, because I was in addiction. I don't think I did. I really don't. He had already overdosed a few times, okay? And I didn't mess with H or none of that anymore. I was off that. My thing was the uppers. And I didn't want him to die. So he was going out the door one day, and I grabbed him, and he turned around and he hit me. And there was some abuse, and it was mostly, though, it was mental. But he wasn't the only one. I was 44 years old before a man ever hit me. And I didn't know what that felt like. I didn't. And it crushed me. And I went into even deeper and darker hole. And I ended up leaving, and I stayed from pillar to post. And I was in a bad situation one night in Empire, Alabama. And I was attacked. Law enforcement was not called, but someone there called a law enforcement agent on his personal cell phone. And I'm just going to tell you, it was Nick Smith. Okay? They locked me in a room, okay? Because this guy, dirt, I don't know what it was. I didn't hear all about that. So they had dirt on our sheriff, or he wasn't sheriff at the time. He was still, or he might have just gotten sheriff. I'm not really sure. I don't know. But anyway, it was, I want to say 8. So yeah, because it was right. It was 18. So, but let me just say this. I hung out with the druggies in Walker County. I knew some in Parrish. I knew some in Cordova. I knew some in Empire. So I had already heard his name, okay? So I already knew some things about him. One of my friends, or, well, we weren't really friends, one of my associates used to go meet up with him. This is just me saying I didn't see it with my own eyes, but I didn't have no reason not to believe her. So, I mean, I just think I don't do the facts. I don't do the public record. I just want him to look at me and see me where his daughter was, okay? So finally, somebody got in touch with my mother. She took me to her house, called an ambulance, came and got me. I spent 18 days in the hospital. On the way to the hospital, I vowed I didn't want to live. I didn't want to live for a long time. Every night, probably before I finally left the past year, I prayed every night just to die. I did. I thought nobody loved me. I believed I was worthless. I had been told that, and I believed it. And I thought my kids would be better off without me. And now my oldest son, Blake, he'll tell you, he wasn't with me when my life went to shit. I did okay for several years. He couldn't believe it. And he'll tell you right now, he's like, I had the best childhood ever. That's why I have so much guilt and shame with my youngest son. So, and he knows today, though, there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. I'm always honest with him about what I've been through, because growing up, that little town and that little community I grew up with, you didn't air your dirty laundry. You didn't talk about, bad things. So I'm trying to break generational curses. So I ended up in this psych ward, and there's this, I wouldn't talk to the doctors. I just wanted them to leave me alone so I could die. That's all I wanted. So I didn't know what was going to happen to me. There's a law in Alabama that when you're released from a psych ward, somebody has to say, hey, they're coming to pick you. They can't just release you out to the wild, I guess is what you call it. So I remember they asked me where I was going to go, and I was like, well, I don't know. I don't have nowhere to go. And it was Brookwood Hospital, and I don't know if you've ever been in Brookwood Hospital, but it's right there off Lakeshore and Highway 31.
Yeah.
Well, in that hospital, in that psych ward, everything's white. There's no color, which was so depressing to me. And I could look out my window and see that overpass over 31. And I thought, okay, they're going to let me out tomorrow every day, and I'm just going to walk up there and jump off. That was my thoughts. So this doctor had me on 7 different antipsychotic medications. Well, I remember them calling my dad, and my dad's first thing was, because they had tried to help me so many times, she can't come here. So that furthered my thinking of nobody loved me, blah, 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 blah. So they ended up taking me to a homeless shelter for battered women. On the way there, this is how sick I was mentally, okay? On the way there, I thought they were taking me like to a group home for mental patients. I thought, okay, well, I'll be on disability the rest of my life. I'll have to live in this group home. I really didn't know what was going on. So I got there and I was so mad because there was no overpass. Okay, I was so mad. I shied away from God for so long. Well, I'm in here the first night. I had to do all these hard things. I could have went back. I could have went back to where I came from. But I said, no, I'm not doing that. Would rather die first. I had to lay on a cot the first night next to these people in this floor because you didn't get a bed when you first got there. You had to wait on a bed. It took you a couple of days. That I had never met before in my life. And some of them looked pretty shady, okay? And I was, 10 years before this happened to me, I was living in a gated community in New Orleans and was making $80,000 a year. And then 10 years later, I have nothing and I'm laying on a cot with all I have is the clothes on my back. So I had to humble myself and I had to do the things I didn't want to do. I still didn't want to be there. I still, fast forward, I'm going to tell you how I met Jesus for real. So I had been there a couple of days and I was still not feeling good. I was still, just going through the motions. Well, all I had were the clothes on my back, like I said. So I had a pair of flip-flops because that's what they took me to the hospital in. Well, I found an overpass, and I had in my mind, I'm going to walk to this Well, it was cold. This happened in the beginning of March. It was still cold. And I didn't really have I didn't have nothing. So this church came in, and they gave me a pair of brand new New Balance tennis shoes. I was so tickled to death. So I'd asked some of the ladies in there if they had any socks. Nobody had any socks because I didn't, I don't want to wear tennis shoes without socks. That's just gross to me. So, because I was going to walk, and I had mapped it out. It was going to be about a mile I'd have to walk, and I'm fat, so, there you go. I didn't want to have to do all that. So, but I was going to do it, and they would let us out at certain times of the day. We had to be in at 6. I can't remember if it was 8 or 9 we got to leave. So nobody knew where I was. Nobody in my family. I thought they just wanted me to go away. I had all these lies going on in my head about myself. So this lady stops by. I had made my plan. Nobody had any socks for me to borrow. Oh well, made my plan. She come by and she told me. She said, Jesus loves you. Well, that just pissed me off, okay? And I don't know why I did this. I cried out to God. I said, God, if you're real, you need to reveal yourself, and you need to reveal yourself to me now. And Derek, I'm not lying. 30 seconds later, sitting in the reception, getting ready for the time to walk out, this lady walks in. Never seen her before in my life. She goes up to the receptionist. She says, these are for Christy Robinson. It was a Walmart bag, and it had 12 brand new pair of socks in it. So I was like, what? And they were like, do you know this person? I was like, no, because you couldn't tell anybody where you were. You wasn't supposed to. And people did, but, I didn't. I gave them my phone and everything. I didn't want none of that stuff. So I sat there and I said, okay, God, you got my attention. So I started listening to people. God started putting these strangers in my path that started speaking life into me. And I sit still and I started listening. Well, they have all kinds of programs, or they did. I don't know if they do now, for victims, okay? I had got approved for an apartment that they were going to pay for 2 years, that I wasn't going to have to pay my rent or power or nothing. And, it was great. And I had thought about it. Well, I decided I was going to call my parents and tell them where I was. I said, Will's there. They've got Will. I need him to know that I love him. I need to know that I'm here. I'm trying to get better. Well, I went to my counselor and I said, I need to call my parents and tell them where I'm at. She said, okay, Christy. So she handed me the phone and I called her. And she said, Christy, you're lying. She said, I know you went back. And when she said that to me, I was like, what? It broke my heart because I really was trying. So I said, but you can't blame her because, she had seen me go back a million times.
For sure.
And I'd lied to her a million times to get money out of her for different reasons, okay? So she told me, I said, well, do you want to talk to my counselor? And she said, yeah, put her on the phone. And she talked to her, and I just got up and walked out. The counselor came and found me. She said, I had a good talk with your mother. She said she wants you to call her when you get ready. So I waited a few days. I let my hurt, go away where I could control my emotions. And I called her, and she told me she was proud of me. Had not heard my parents say that in so many years. And I lived off that. I can't tell you how long I lived off that. And so my oldest son, he had just gotten married. He had bought a house in Hayden. Him and his wife had bought a house in Hayden. He said, Mom, come stay with us. Get your life together. Come stay with us. So I did. But here's the thing. I was still taking all these antipsychotic medications they had me on. I was taking this medication that my breast started leaking milk. That's how strong the hormones were. It was for like schizophrenic patients. I don't have none of that, okay? I was just messed up. So I couldn't control my emotions. I would go to the doctor. They were giving me all these pills, the good happy pills, you know, the Xanax bars and the Adderall and all this stuff. And I would take them all. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to feel. And I was mourning my marriage. I know that sounds crazy, but I did. I mourned it. And I was hurting so bad. And all I wanted was for this man that I loved to put his arms around me and make me feel safe. Now, that's what you call sick, okay? And my son started noticing. He's like, Mom, when your son, like, I hadn't been out of the bed in like 4 or 5 days. He's like, Mom, you need to get up and take a bath, okay? You know, that's kind of embarrassing. But, you know, that's what you do when you're depressed.
Yeah.
And I was taking all these pills, and one day I just broke down. I could not listen to music. Listen to music just put me in a frenzy. I would curl up in a ball and I love music. And I would just curl up in a ball, and, you know, it was crazy. So he was worried about me. I was taking all these pills. They'd be gone in 2 weeks. I was supposed to have 2 weeks more. Because all I wanted to do was sleep. Because when you sleep, you can't feel. Even though I had nightmares, they gave me drugs where you wouldn't have nightmares when you slept. So my mom and my son had this little intervention with me and took me to the Foundry Ministries in Bessemer, Alabama. Well, I didn't really know where I was going. I knew that I kind of thought it was like a place that was going to help me, like, you know, the other place I'd been. But it was a long-term treatment because you could only stay at the place I went for 90 days. So when I got there and thought it was, because I was in denial about my addiction for years. I thought, I'm not a drug addict. That's, that's other people, not me. But I was. I didn't believe it. Now I know. I even went in there telling them I'm not a drug addict, which was pure bullshit. Okay, so
they hear that.
Yeah. So here I am, and I'm in this place, and there was some people in there that made me think I didn't have not one problem when I heard their problems, and I still cried every day. I still mourned my marriage. I still was severely depressed. I still had PTSD. I couldn't even walk into a convenience store, but I stayed. And I knew that Jesus had spoke to me and had revealed himself to me and let me know that there was a purpose for my life. And so I stayed, even though I called him after I'd been there about 2 weeks, and I was like, if you don't come get me, I'm leaving. You know, he's like, Mom, if you leave, don't call me. Don't ever call me again. So I thought, well, shit, I got to stay.
Your son is a very smart person.
He is, and I raised him. So I stayed and I sit still. And they tried to find me other places to go because the Foundry is a working program, okay? You got to get up and work. You can't just sit there. And it's a faith-based program. I couldn't work in their thrift stores because the first time they put me to work in there, I had a full-blown panic attack. And they had to call the rescue squad. So the director, who's a good friend of mine to this day, she tried to find me other places to go. Well, what is that house? Hannah House or something. Anyway, they wouldn't take me because they interviewed me and they said my PTSD was too severe. They couldn't handle me. And then there was another place that said the same thing. So I was in church service one night. And this lady that had been through the program, she was a former prostitute. She was pouring into all these girls. I'm talking speaking life into them. She was married, doing great. She looks at me. She said, Christy, she said, because I was like, I'm not staying here. I'm not an addict, She said, well, what did they say at that other place you were supposed to go? I said, oh, well, they can't take me. But, I said, we're going to find a place. And she said, maybe God's trying to tell you something. Maybe you ought to sit still. And when she told me that, I got to thinking, maybe I should. So I did. And I sat there and I was miserable, but I did it. I did it anyway. And I would read this verse, Jeremiah 29:11, every day because they've got it painted along the wall in there in the Women's Center. And if you don't know that verse, that's my favorite verse. That verse saved my life. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for not to harm, plans for you to prosper and live a beautiful life, blah, blah, blah. I never believed that for me until I did. I woke up one day and I did. And I started pouring into these other girls. And that's so rewarding to me. And I started going to therapy. And I started praying. And I started doing all the things they told me to do. Now, I've been out for 8 years and I slipped up one time. I was clean for 4 years before I slipped up one time. You know when I slipped up? When I went back to those old people and that old playground. That was my mistake. So I don't do that no more. I thought my best life was over because, here I was, 45 years old at this time. I had lived a pretty good life. I had, did a lot of traveling, partied with Flavor Flav on Bourbon Street. I'd done some fun things. That's what I thought, okay? Got interviewed by Joe Namath. I got to interview Joe Namath for the Arthritis Foundation. All kinds of cool stuff I got to do. And I thought, okay, here I am, 44 years old. I've spent everything I had. I had a retirement from the state of Louisiana. It's gone, okay? Everything gone. And I thought, who's going to want me? Blah, blah, blah. You always got that little devil talking in the back of your head. When I was in this program, the main thing that helped me, and I've got it right here in front of me, it's who I am in Christ. And it's called Your Faith Confessions. And they did roll call every morning. And I was there 13 months. We did this. I had to stay an extra month because I had to have emergency appendectomy when I was there. So it put me off a little bit, okay? So what it is, it's these faith confessions that you say to yourself every day. And it lines up with a Bible verse. And it'll tell you you're God's child, you're a disciple, you're a friend of Christ. You are, all these good things about you, what Jesus says about you. And I said those every day until I believed them. I didn't at first. I was like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then after you do it for so long, you believe it. Just like when I heard I was worthless and nobody loved me, I believed it. But I chose to believe the good. And, I don't live a perfect life. I sin daily just like the rest of us. I cuss way too much. My mama bought me a shirt that says, I love Jesus, but I cuss, okay? And my mom and daddy are just the sweetest people. They support everything I do. I have so much respect for school teachers because she did it. She taught in the Walker County school system. And I wanted to touch on this a little bit because I know tomorrow is the day we go vote. I don't live in Walker County anymore, but the day they vote for this House representative thing with Dustin and Greg Barnes, if I can speak on my opinion on that for a minute.
Absolutely.
I grew up with Dustin. He was a year older than me in school. Never had a problem with Dustin. I thought he was a great guy, and I still think he may be a great guy. I don't know. I ain't been around him in years. No, we were never best friends. But I've come from the Oxycontin epidemic, okay? I know all about it. I know about going to doctors and people that wrote fake scripts. I used to take people to best scripts. I never did it, but I know people that did. The first thing they teach you in recovery is you don't go back to that old playground. If you're a true addict, you change your playmate and your playground. Now, when I first heard that Dustin was running for this, I was like, oh, good, yay. But then I started finding out for myself. I started hearing these things, and I'm like, wait a minute, you mean he didn't go to prison for that? What? Now, his dad, Mickey Beatty, I loved him. He was my homeroom teacher. He coached my brother in football. He would come get my brother for football practice, bring him home. His stepmother, Vonda, loved her. She was a great teacher to me in high school. But I never hung in those crowds after I got out because I left. And when I came back, it was totally different. I have the most respect for Vonda and Mickey. He's not here no longer. I loved him. And I love Dustin. I love everybody. Do I think he needs to be a representative? Hell no. And that's just my opinion. So God replaced everything I lost with something totally better than I could ever have imagined. Okay. So last November, after, I got better, I left rehab, I went to North Carolina. I got involved with this organization called Urban Purpose Ministries. and they needed somebody to work. It's kind of like the Foundry, except they do a lot of other stuff. They work with victims of trafficking. They work with homelessness, not only drug addiction, different things like that. They needed somebody with a college degree, even though it didn't matter what your degree was in, you just had to have a college degree. So I didn't have anywhere else to go here, and even though I had went and done all this, and I'd had my parents' support and my family's support, my parents live about a mile from where all this happened in my life, okay? So I couldn't go back there, and I never asked them if I could go back there. I said, hey, I'm going to go to North Carolina, and I'm going to pour into these people. Well, I went and I stayed for about, I left in September, and I came back when COVID hit. Okay, so in 2020, that's when I made my move back to Alabama and back into society. I got back on social media, because I got off social media for like 2 years when all this was going on. People that I had known my whole life, they thought I died. So I start sharing about my experiences, and I start writing, because when I went to therapy, I kept a journal, and I still keep one today. And I noticed I had a gift for writing. People would tell me, you've got a gift for writing. You've got a gift for writing. So, and my mother had been trying to tell me this my whole life, because she was an English teacher, okay? But of course I had to rebel and got an accounting degree. And I worked in the gambling industry for many years. I worked for the state of Louisiana, and I audited video poker. I worked for the largest video poker machine distributor in the state of Louisiana. I was the controller there. And I had really stressful jobs. And when you work in that industry, let me just tell you, these people are not that great of people, okay? So it's kind of like working in the mob. So I'd been around that. And I was doing this work, and I loved it. It didn't pay a lot, but it was worth it to me. I was pouring into these people, and it helped me so much. It helped me get closer with God, because I wanted to do that step 12, okay? I wanted to do that step 12. And if anybody's ever been to an NA or AA meeting, you know what that step 12 is. I don't have to tell you. So on March the 1st of 2020, I was going to come home fly home for a vacation. And I flew home, and COVID hit. Well, I was quarantined here, because they weren't taking anybody else in at my work. I was lowest on the totem pole anyway. And so my parents were like, well, you can stay here. And I knew I could stay there, but I knew what I had to do. And I did stay there with them for a few months until I got up off my feet. They never gave me a dime. I did it myself. I got me a car. I got me a job. I got me a place, my own place. And last November, I know a lot of people ask me about, they see my videos of me dancing in my wheelchair. Last November, I was in an accident, and it was pretty bad, but I'm okay now. And the reason I can't walk is because I'm not paralyzed or anything, anymore, but I can't walk because I've still got to have another knee surgery, which there's some other extenuating circumstances for me to get to that. But I'm getting better, and hopefully I'm going to have it by the end of the year. So next year I'll be up walking by this time. So I had all this time on my hands. I'm going to tell you how this TikTok thing started for me. And I was depressed. I was, but, never like I was before, because, I was doing things. Well, I was pretty much homebound. So my oldest son, we pick on my youngest son. In my family, in our family, you get roasted. So that's just how it is. That's just how we are. So if you ever come over, we'll probably roast you, okay? But you'll love us. So, but also I make fun of myself. I'm not one of those people that can't. I know my faults. He said, hey, go on TikTok, Mom. The words they say, skibbity, 6, 7, all this stuff. Well, here's my teenager coming home saying this shit, okay? So my oldest son's like, Mom, get on TikTok and follow this Mr. Lindsay. He'll tell you what all these words mean. He acts just like Will and his friends. I'm like, okay. So I get on TikTok one day, and I'd had this account for a couple of years, but I never really posted that much on it, because, maybe some little CapCut pictures of me trying to look cute or something, or my kids, but never just like making funny videos. And I started scrolling, and I was like, this looks fun. Let me try this. And TikTok is a lot cheaper than therapy sometimes. But I made a video. Well, my 16-year-old son, immediately when he gets home from school, oh my God, Mom, you are so embarrassing. All my friends watch your TikToks. So I was like, okay, you just wait. We're not raising no participation trophy pansies in this house. It's No Limit Soldiers, okay? So I started rolling with it. Well, all his friends love it. He's not too keen on it. He don't like it. He thinks it's cringe. So, but I started seeing these people. Met Kimmy Kitten. That's how I found you. And it started helping me. And I got connected because they have these little trends on TikTok, where they use these little sounds and stuff. And I always do that because I think they're funny. I always try to do the funny stuff. Well, they did the little Marianne and Wanda trend with the Dixie Chicks song. Well, I didn't have that many followers on TikTok, and I ain't trying to make no money off of it. I'm just having fun. So I said, you know what? I'm going to post that picture of me. And because, like I said, I didn't have a Marianne or Wanda. I was my own. But God put complete strangers in my path to get me to where I am today. And it blew up. In like 2 days, I had 20,000 views. I've never had that happen. So I met this group of people. I had so many people reach out to me. And I met this guy, a.k.a. Dwayne, Gen X. I know he's in here. And Bella. And we started talking, and we started doing these lives together. Well, she is a victim of domestic violence, and she's trying to get this domestic violence registry. So this gave me a purpose again. She's like, Christy, she's like, I know our stories are different, but the visual in your video is what catches people's eye. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you can use it, And I went into one of the lives that the Warriors did. I became connected to this group. And so they are pushing for a domestic violence registry. And I'm going to be so upset if I don't have this for okay. So they have it in other places. They have it in Europe. I know that for a fact they have it in Scotland. They do not have it in Alabama. And what they want to do, it's kind of like the Schmexual offender registry. 3 convicted violent repeat offenders. 3 convictions, I think, is what it is. Bella does all the rules and does the attorney. All I do is I'm kind of like what Kimmy Kitten says. I'm a professional yapper. That's me. So we want to get this law passed, and I'm all about it. And I need all you guys listening. We've got a meeting set up in January. I need you to write a letter. I don't have the addresses and all that, but I can get them. And if y'all follow me, I will send them to you. I need you to write a letter to Robert Adderholt and Katie Britt and tell them we need a domestic violence offender registry in the state. And then we're going to go national with it. The goal is national, but for right now, we're just, we're taking these little steps at a time. They're getting ready to set up these petitions because we just started this a couple of months ago. And to already have a meeting set up with these people, something that just started. And my friend Bella, she started this because she was in therapy one day getting help. And she started talking to her therapist about, hey, this would be a good idea. We need to do this. And so her doctors and her therapist have said, hey, you need to do this. And so it's helping her heal. Her story's a lot different from mine, but it needs to be done. It really does. It needs to be done. And I know I if anybody has, I haven't read any of the little comments. There's no telling what they say, but I got on here. I make fun of Nick Smith. I don't report facts. I don't report data and all that. I make fun of him because he's evil and he's a narcissist. I would even have a little respect for him if he would just say, hey, take some accountability. Man, that happened on my watch. I screwed up, But he won't even do that. Walker County, I grew up there. All my family's there. Love it. But y'all, the whole political thing there, everybody that's in there needs out and they need to bring in new ones. That's just my opinion. I never really was into politics and stuff like that. But after raising these mean, stinky, dirty boys, I got a granddaughter last year. And she is the greatest thing that ever happened to me. She calls me Coco, okay? And I'm a huge Stevie Nicks fan. I'm the biggest self-proclaimed Stevie Nicks fan on this earth. And I make sure she's got all this cute Stevie stuff to wear to daycare and all that. And when she was born, something in me changed. And I wanted better for her. And I wanted her to have all the opportunities and freedoms. And so I'm starting to really, really form my own political beliefs. Am I MAGA? No. Am I a Democrat? No. I really don't know what I am. I know what I believe. I know what my parents are. I know what, other people are. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm trying to find it all out for myself, especially a few weeks ago when that happened to Charlie Kirk. I didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was, okay? And because, I have all this time on my hands now. I don't work. So I just know that Walker County's got to do better. And I don't know who all these people are that are voting these people in. I don't know if they just don't know how to do social media, don't know how to. I just pray and pray and pray. I don't endorse anybody but Nick Smith, okay? If you got to write in Stevie Nicks, do it. Anybody but Nick Smith. It's just what happened, and the fact that they get up there, and I just imagine how Tony Mitchell's family feels when they see him doing this, and his old wife. And I'm sorry, I don't really know her personally, but I don't get a good vibe from her. I'm all about vibes. And people that hide behind religion. I'm not going to hide behind religion. I'm going to tell you the shitty stuff I've done and then found Jesus. And sometimes I might shoot a bird at my neighbor because he pisses me off. I might do it, this evening. But, I'm not going to do that. But God knows my heart. I'm trying to be better. I think there's too many rules. I think it's about a relationship. And, yeah, I don't get it. And it's so fake that it makes a mockery out of Christianity. I feel like what I say and what I tell you about me, I hope y'all know that this is real, and I hope y'all believe me because it's true. And when you see people like that, you're like, oh God. And knowing that there's people that eat this up, that just does something to me. So that's really all I got to say. You'll have to tell me to shut up, Derek, because I'll talk to you for 3 more hours.
I'll let you talk for as long as you want. That's what we're here for.
Lord, if my vape goes dry, I don't know what to do. Oh, here it is. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, too, y'all. I quit smoking cigarettes. How about that? But I do vape a little, okay? So, but I've gave up all that other stuff. But I have met,
really
TikTok has been great for me. I have met all these great people. And TikTok is also good, I think, in finding out this political stuff. Because it's not just like, I think, you watch Fox and that's all MAGA. You watch C-SPAN or whatever it is. I know, that's all the crazy left people. TikTok kind of gives you, if you find your right vibe, it kind of the people that, and I think the younger generation, these older generations are just going to have to get with it. And I've had to. I had to learn what, skibbity bedaddle riz meant. I don't want to do that. So I just, I think it's a good thing. I believe in freedom of speech. I think people are asking me my thoughts on Charlie Kirk. I think he was a good man. I don't think he deserved to die. Do I stand for everything he stood for? No, I don't. That's just me. I think sometimes in our country, when we have these big elections, it's like choosing the lesser of two evils. And I think that's really sad. I think we need to come together. I've been reading up. I don't know what's your thought on this, Derek. I've been reading up about this Libertarian Party. And I know that it's not a big thing. I feel kind of aligned with it sometimes. But if you want, it's not big enough to have somebody in the White House, I don't know what we got to do to get it there. I don't know. I'm still, like I said, I'm still new to all this. I'm trying to learn if anybody has any recommendations for me on why they're a certain way and this and that. And you can send them to me, my messages. I'll watch them videos and read them messages all day long. So, but I really hope we get this domestic violence registry passed. Please, please, please write to Katie Britt. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a video on my account, and I'm going to put her address, and I'm going to put Robert Adderhold's address, okay? So you can write and tell you want this domestic violence registry, so you can tell about it. And if anybody calls my mama and told her I was cussing on the TikTok today, I'm blocking you.
We don't like snitches.
That's right. So my daddy, I'll call him. He'll be like, Christy, don't be cussing on the TikTok or the Facebook. Somebody's going to call your mama and tell them. So, but I appreciate you, Derek. I appreciate you giving me this time. If you have anybody got any questions for me, I don't mind answering questions. You talk and I'll just read the little questions if they've got.
I can't. First thing I want to say is I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story with us. And I'm telling you, your story is so powerful.
Oh,
I
and
hope
there's
you
more to it, but I'm saving it for the book.
I hope you realize how powerful your story is. It's amazing, and it is just the raw, real truth, as I would say. And I took so many notes while you were
I do
talking.
want to say one other thing. I want to say this. I had this on my little bullet points. The legalization of marijuana, okay? Legalize it. Because when I had this accident and I have all this pain, knowing my history with opiates, I knew I couldn't go down that road again.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they taught me to have a successful recovery. So I was hurting one day. My oldest son, he brought me some of that devil's lettuce. And it helps me. And I do that every once in a while. And I get on TikTok like that every once in a while. So it's fun. But I'm not out, DTing from no opiates that I've took too many of because I'm hurting. And after a while, your tolerance is going to build up. And I just can't do that. So and I do have pain some days. Years ago when I was taking them, I didn't. Now that I've had these injuries, I do. So I'm all for the legalization of marijuana. So if your candidate ain't for that, I ain't for it. So there you go.
No,
K
and
Ivy's got to go.
on that is so much safer than the opiates. So much safer, and so much. It's actually, I mean, it's not unhealthy for you. It's not, and that's been proven now as far as health and how we were always told it burns your brain cells and all this. That's nonsense. Now that they have done real studies on this stuff, it's been proven none of that's true whatsoever, and it is 20 times, at least 20 times better for you and healthier than alcohol. However, we live in a society where alcohol is accepted for whatever reason, but the green substance is not. And I don't understand that. And I do understand it. I know it's because we've been brainwashed for years. But even now, after all of this has come out about it, you still have all of these people that are so against it. And it's just because they don't understand
I
it.
don't understand it. And, especially now, with these THC vapes, our governor's banned all this stuff. Well, if you would legalize it, you wouldn't have to worry about the illegal stuff getting into it. Because let me tell you, just like the gambling thing, there's no, we don't have a lottery here, all this stuff. Let me tell you something. When I lived in Louisiana, when I sent my kid to school, because they had a state lottery, you know what I sent? And he went to one of the best schools there. I sent pen and paper. That's it. I didn't have to spend no $500 and buy no alternator for the school bus and all this stuff like you have to do now. And also, when you have a gambling machine in a state where it's legal, they have all these rules and regulations you have to abide by. When you plug a machine in, before you can plug it into the electricity outlet, it's got to have this little blue chip in it. This blue chip is going to connect to that motherboard in the capital, which here would be Montgomery. Here it's in there, it was Baton Rouge. It's got to make sure that machine is connecting. So the state knows it's getting its third off the top. It knows exactly how much money is getting into it. Just like these states that have legalized it, they know exactly what percentage of this can be sold and what. And then, you ain't got to worry. Oh, well, they got fentanyl and marijuana now. No, they don't. I mean, they may have, but not if it's legal.
You're exactly right. No, the green substance, it was an entire, I mean, it's one of the biggest lies that has been told to the American people for years and years. And when you trace back to when it was actually the reason it was actually banned in the first place, and you can tell people all those facts now that we know are facts, and they still will not accept it. But it's way healthier. I mean, alcohol is extremely unhealthy.
Well, you think about it. How many times do
Extremely
you hear
unhealthy.
about? How many times do you hear about somebody getting stoned and going in and shooting a place? Or you don't hear about that. You hear
That
about people
doesn't
getting
happen.
drunk and doing it,
I
or
mean, alcohol is the cause of a, let me put this correctly because I don't want to. Domestic violence is due to the offender. They're 100% at fault. So let me make sure wording this correctly so you don't misunderstand me. But those people who are bad and horrible people that are committing domestic violence, what causes them to commit it even more and more? Alcohol. It's one of the main causes of it. I mean, we know that. It causes that, the amount of people in car accidents and the liver diseases that it causes. I mean, it's horrible for you. It's one of the worst things you can put into your body. However, we have people that are they will go drink every weekend and think it's okay, but they're completely against the green stuff. And it's going to take a long time for us to really get to unbrainwash all these people, but we're getting there. And I am all for it 100%. And I know that throws a lot of people off because of what my career was for years. However, I've never been that against marijuana. I haven't. I know the bad side of it, but the bad side of it is just because it's illegal.
Right.
100%. And so that's the only bad side of it, but that's literally only because it's illegal. When it's legal, there's no bad parts of it that are worse by any means than alcohol. I'll say that. Alcohol has destroyed a lot of lives and a lot of families. Opiates have destroyed, oh my God, countless lives and families.
And
the green stuff hasn't destroyed many people's lives. I mean, it just
makes you get the munchies, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I watched your video that you did, and I've been kind of on the fence about this Dustin thing because, like I said, I grew up with him, and I love his dad, and I love his stepmother. And I love him. But when I heard that about, what was it, 11 pills per day for each man, woman, child in the county. And I know people that went to the back door, like you said you talked to. I know people like that too that have told me. And when you're in recovery, the first thing you got to do is get honest. You got to get honest. And I don't think he's being honest.
I mean, I know for a fact
I wish him all the luck in the world. I don't have any ill will toward him, but I do not think he needs to be in office until he can get honest. And I don't think he lost everything.
He didn't.
I don't think that, because I did, and I mean, I wouldn't even run an appeal mill. And I mean, you think about, like I said, how it humbles you. Because 10 years living in a nice house, driving a nice car, had a great job, and then you blink and you're waking up in a homeless shelter. You're hungry. All you have is the clothes on your back. No family to call. No real friends. I could have had somebody come pick me up. I'd have been right back in the same situation. And anybody that I do want to say this. I hope y'all all follow me and keep up with this. Now, I'm not going to try to sell you nothing, because I don't get on TikTok trying to sell you nothing, okay? Now, I might cuss sometimes on here, but not too much. Now, if you want to see somebody making fun of Nick Smith, you definitely need to follow me, because I love doing that. And so follow me for the update and about the domestic violence registry. And where was I going with this? I just had a brain fart.
Happens to me all the time.
Menopause, baby. So... But anyway, if you have any questions, message me. Send me those messages. If you're in a domestic violence situation and you want to leave, message me. The group, The Warriors, I hope y'all go and follow that. I'm gonna make a video later and tag them so everybody can follow them. Awesome support system. But look, when I posted that video, the trend, the Earl video, I had a lot of people messaging me, and I kind of got a little disheartened, because I did help some people, but there were a lot of people that weren't willing to walk away from everything. And I was willing to do that. I didn't have much left, but I had to do that. And I had to do the hard things. I had to get up. I had to do a chore at the homeless shelter. I had to... Wherever I wanted to go, I had to get a bus pass. I didn't have my car anymore. I had to get up. I had to have my feet on the ground every morning at 5:30. Every morning. for 13 months. I did that. Nobody, I mean, you have to surrender it all, because this is what I would do sometimes with my little God situation. I only want to surrender parts of my life to Him. I'd say, okay, God, you can have my finances, but I'm going to have my relationship, or vice versa, or I'm going to give you this aspect of my life. Nope. Don't work that way. You got to give Him and you got to believe what He says about you. And you got to read these verses every day. And you got to tell yourself that you're amazing. Because the devil wants you to believe those lies, that you're worthless. I mean, he wanted to do you know how mad the devil is that I'm up here telling y'all this shit right now? He is mad, and I don't care. So, Derek, I love you. I'm so glad I found your TikTok.
I'm so thankful for you, and I mean
I'm
that.
so glad I'm going to get to be a part of your little thing, because that gives me purpose in life, Because right now, sometimes some days are hard, I'm not going to lie and say my life is all rainbows, and it's not. I have hard days, but I know they're not going to last. And people, I
Your
try to
best
tell
life
these,
hasn't happened yet, Christy. I promise
you
you that.
know,
It's coming.
I got this granddaughter looking up to me, and I can't even explain. I just can't even explain how much love I have for this little girl. And my kids are making good choices. They're learning from my mistakes because I talk openly about them, And I don't blame nobody but myself. You don't ever hear me out here saying, oh, well, this guy beat the shit out of me, and it's my life went down the drain and it's all his fault. I don't do that. I don't get up there like Nick Smith and say, when somebody asks him something, oh, well, you didn't see them do that to City of Jasper, or you didn't see them do that to this other, or I don't do that. I take accountability for my shit. But for years I didn't, but I do now.
And you didn't get anywhere till you started.
That's right. So I'll be going to Kimmy Kitten's little Kiki in a couple of weeks. I hope to meet some of y'all there. I'm going to wear my Nick Smith for Prison t-shirt. And I want to give a shout out to Case File. He has been a huge supporter of mine. And you just, the Warriors, it's given me purpose. And my parents, my kids, oh God. Went Saturday, I woke up and Kimmy Kitten had put my little TikTok on Facebook where I was talking about the Warriors and what we were doing. And I had all these messages, because I don't do a lot on Facebook. Facebook's a little different than TikTok. So my mama calling me, how proud I was. Well, I was just happy as can be. And I know that's a little selfish. But then I get this message from Derek Baker. Hey, would you like to be my guest Monday and talk about the registry? Well, then I was really on cloud nine. So it's selfish in a way. Helping others makes me feel better about myself. It does. And if I'm selfish for that, then I'm just a selfish bitch is all I can tell you.
That's
But
not being selfish at all.
I had somebody tell me that one time. I don't know who that narcissist was, but anyway. But I have my best friends, God has led me to these people. And I was mad for a while. I said, okay, Jesus, you brought me through all this. I was doing good. I was going into all these speaking engagements and doing this stuff. And then I had to have this wreck. And now I can't get out and do nothing anymore. I'm in this wheelchair. By God, He led me to TikTok. I know that's crazy, but it's just these people, and it's gave me a voice again, and I'm not depressed anymore, and I'm not laying in bed all day thinking, let me feel sorry for myself and, watch, 8 hours of General Hospital. I'm not doing that, okay? I'm up and I'm answering these emails, and I'm trying to, if you want help getting out of addiction, maybe you don't have the domestic violence thing, maybe it's just an addiction, please reach out to me, please. I just love you all. I'm so thankful. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me this opportunity. I don't want to put no glory on me. None of this is, I didn't do nothing. Jesus did it all. He might use me as a vessel sometimes. But you look back in the Bible and you look about those people Jesus used, okay? He didn't use those people that had perfect lives, and, he didn't do that. So people, I had somebody remind me of that the other day. The messages, the support that I get, it means so much to me. Thank you for exposing the corruption, Derek. Thank you so much. What you are doing. I didn't know anything about this. What was it, Timothy Benton and all this until, I heard you about it. This Deschler High School thing. I'm starting to get involved in this stuff. We got to make changes. I got to make changes. I got to be involved. I got to learn about this stuff for my granddaughter.
Yeah, it's very important. That's for sure. But I am, like I said, I'm extremely proud of you for what that's worth, and I am extremely excited that you're part of my team now. And you're gonna do. I'm telling you, your best life has not happened yet, not even close. It's coming, and you're gonna see that. And you have a ton of purpose, a ton, and that's why you're still here. And there's just no other way to put that. But you're gonna do amazing things. You're already doing amazing things. I am 100% behind you all on the domestic violence registry. Anything I can do, anything at all I can do for that, I will do. I'm going to do a full podcast on that soon, and I know we had a bill in the House of Representatives here in Alabama recently that just died in committee. That was HB 599, and that's what it was. And I don't know why exactly it died in the committee. I'm going to try to find out, but we've got to make something happen with that for sure.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Derek. Derek, there's a guy in here I need you to follow. In the know, WRP, that's Reggie Parker. That's my friend that's retired from the city of Hoover. He was in law enforcement for 32 years. So y'all have a lot in common, okay? He went and got his education, and now he's a counselor and licensed therapist. And he travels all over, and he does mental health counseling for first responders.
Awesome.
So he does, and I think that you guys would have a lot in common. Hello. So he is great. He comes in our lives, and he asks all the questions from a counselor's point of view, and what did you do to do this, and what did you, and I had to learn all those instead of the coping mechanisms where I didn't want to hurt. I would numb myself. I had to do, hey Reggie, I had to do all the hard stuff, and I had to learn positive coping mechanisms like journaling. I found out I had a gift for writing, hey, making those lists and getting out and taking a walk. And I had to learn about just so many different things. And Reggie, he talks from a counselor's point of view because he is trained and he does have a license. I don't. I just tell it, me, professional yapper.
You telling your story is going to help countless amount of people, 100%. And you telling your story openly like you do is, in my opinion, that was the best thing for me anyway. When I started going out and speaking on my story is really when I realized that I wouldn't go back and change it, as crazy as that sounds, because I wouldn't be who I am today. But being open about it and speaking about it and talking about it, the more you do that, the easier it is to live with. And like I said, I can only speak for myself with that, but I've heard a lot of other people say that as well. I think it's very healthy to do that. People that are not open about those things, they hold them in and they feel like they're by themselves no matter what. And now I'm not a counselor at all, so I'm not pretending to be. I'm just, like I said, I can just speak for myself and what I've heard a lot of the other people say about it. But I think it's very healthy to do that. And I know for a fact it's very helpful to all the people that listen to you. People, there's so much to learn from you. So much. And your life has been crazy in a lot of good ways and a lot of bad ways. And most people don't experience any of that, in their
who
life.
else can say they got felt up by Bob Dylan? It's been
Probably
crazy. I've had some good times, okay, but I've had some bad times. I had to throw my little humor in it, and I
But
have
you,
so many friends and family that support me, and I love them all. But all this right here that I'm doing is to glorify Jesus, and that's it. That's it. And if I got to make fun of Nick Smith to do it, by God, I'm going to do it because it's the truth. He is a scoundrel.
well, I'm gonna be on him until he's not sheriff anymore. I get people. When are you gonna, when are you gonna stop with him or whatever? When he's not an issue anymore, and that's when he's not sheriff
Thank
anymore.
you. And
Um,
you have so many people that support you. Believe me. A lot of people in Walker County, I think, are afraid to speak out on it. And that's why I'm not in Walker County no more. And look, I think I may still have a warrant in Summerton. I don't know. They can come get me. My mom and daddy will get me out. I don't know. But I don't care. I've been through all this. I'm not going to shut up about it, okay?
nor should you.
I can't. I mean, if I made it through what I made it through, you can lock me up in jail. I mean, I hope they don't do to me what they did to Tony. But, and that's why we got to make sure that he gets out. Because I don't know the whole it's an ongoing investigation. I can't speak on it. I don't know how those laws work. But the minute I didn't say too much about it. I had never really told my story or my thoughts on him. And I have an aunt that is pro Nick Smith, I'm telling you, because she's from that little old clique, okay? But she don't say nothing to me. And I don't say nothing to her. We still love each other from a distance. But I mean, it's got to change. It's got to. I would, if my parents live there now, they have a lovely home. They own 20 acres, good, upstanding citizens. I would not, if something happened to them or something, because somebody came in and broke into their house or whatever. My daddy has a lot of equipment. So I wouldn't want to call Walker County. I mean, please, that's a joke, y'all. They don't live in any city limits, so we'd have to call them. I mean,
No,
I'd be calling my mob friends in New Orleans before I called them.
I don't. The one thing I do not understand, I do not, and I've tried. Honestly, I have tried my best, and I've asked and I've talked to people, just trying to understand in any way whatsoever how someone could still support him, and I can't. I mean, I can't
I
come up with
can't
anything.
either.
I can't.
Even if what had not happened to me had happened, I still can't. I still couldn't. I
But
have tried to take myself out of that. I would say, okay, Christy, let's pretend like you don't know nothing about him, okay? And you're just learning and you're seeing all this stuff. Okay, no way I would vote for him. I mean,
you hit the
people
nail on
gotta
the
like.
head.
I hate people that hide behind the make a mockery of religion like that. Hate
Yeah,
that.
and you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said that you grew up, and I think you said in church, and they taught you to just be silent. Correct? Is that what you
Right.
said?
Right.
And
It was never about, oh, I screwed up. Let me take my burden to the altar. It was about, oh, I screwed up. I'm going to hell. And and when I
yep.
found that relationship with Jesus, I learned what grace was.
And so
And
you hit the nail on the head with that, because that's exactly what they tried to do. The people that we're talking about, Nick and his followers, and other people, of course, as well. But they don't want you speaking out. They want you silent. I literally had a woman, one of Nick Smith's supporters. No, I'm sorry, one of Dustin Beatty's supporters comment on the book earlier under my video. She literally said she's praying to God that I get kicked off of social media because I'm bringing up his past, and no one's past should ever be brought up. There's a lot of issues with her statement, but I found that crazy. I'm like, you're acting as if you are representing true Christianity, but you're not. You're the opposite of that. So please stop.
exactly.
So please stop acting like you're representing Christianity. That is not Christianity. Christianity
No.
does not say sit back and don't say anything. That is not what it says. Jesus Christ himself, what did he sit around and not say anything? No, he went every single day. That's what he did. He went out and he spoke. And what did all of people that opposed him, they wanted him silent. They did everything they
Right.
could to shut him up. That's what these people do. And they don't want anyone saying anything. And I can't stand, like you said, when people hide behind the Bible. Nick Smith is a big one of those, huge. Dustin Beatty now is, and on Dustin Beatty, nothing I'm saying about him is personal towards his personal life right now. I don't know the man. Never in my life met him. And as I said in my video,
does a lot of wonderful things. I'm sure he
he
is.
may be a Christian, a good Christian now. I don't know. That's not my place to judge that.
I'm just speaking from an addict's point of view.
What I do know about him is I know a fact, because there's no way in the world that my attorney would let me put the video out, because all my videos go through an attorney. If I didn't have factual proof of the things I'm saying, I wouldn't put those out, because I would get sued, hands down. I know for a fact the man's lying. I know how much he sold out of the back door of his pharmacy and the other things he did. I know.
And probably some of my friends are probably no longer here because of that, if you want to be the truth, if you want to know the truth.
A lot of people are no longer here because of that.
That does something to me. That does something to me. And look, I have a past. I took some money. I told you about that. That money wasn't mine, and it was a lot of money.
But like you said earlier, you are taking accountability.
State treasury or anything like that, okay? So I'm not running for office. And
I mean, I'll be honest with you about Dustin Beatty. If he had been completely open and honest with everything he did, I still wouldn't vote for him myself, but I wouldn't be making any videos about him.
Yeah.
I would have some respect for that.
I get it.
Again, at the end of the day, he was an illegal drug dealer.
Right.
And he wants to get out here and act like he was an addict, that he was this poor little addict that lost everything. That is the furthest thing from what happened to that man. He didn't lose anything.
Right.
I have followed the money. He has not lost anything, trust me, ever. And he's trying to play the victim.
When I got in the trouble I got in, I would have never said I did it because I was an addict. I was embarrassed of that stigma. I didn't blame what I did because I was an addict. It probably would have got me off a lot easier if I would have. I probably had to go to drug court or do something like that. But yeah, I don't get that.
Well, and that's the thing.
But you see it happen a lot.
He may have been an addict. I don't know. But
he may have.
Him trying to play the victim in this is it's crazy. It's nuts. And I mean, I've sat across from tons of attorneys with their clients where I knew and had great evidence that they were dealing large amounts of stuff, and their attorney trying to sell me on, well, they were just an addict, because they know that they get very light sentences if they're an addict. And I mean, it's a game that they play a lot of, and that's exactly what he's playing, and he's playing it with this politics right now, and I don't like that. I don't like that, and it shows me, and it tells me that he is definitely not the man he claims to be. He's not.
And one more thing, and I know you get this, and I know Kimmy gets this. You don't live in Walker County. Well, whoop-de-doo. My parents live there. People I care about lives there. And even if I didn't, whoop-de-doo, it's wrong. Because I get that all the time.
Yeah, well, I do too. And that does not matter.
It's one of the reasons
literally has
I don't
nothing to
live
do with
there.
anything.
So
that's like saying that you shouldn't care what's going on in North Korea because you don't live there.
Right.
Literally, that's the same thing. Like, it's crazy. That's nuts to say that. But I want to hit on a few things that you talked about.
Okay, I'll try to shut up.
Oh no, I don't want you to shut up. that are really big, and so you talked about the people you are around is who you become. That's one of my biggest things that I teach when I'm teaching leadership. And leadership is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I love learning about it. I love teaching it. But that is one of the main things I teach is the 5 people you hang around. They're you 100%. The 5 closest people to you that you hang around, you're going to be just like them eventually, whether that's really good or really bad. And I'm telling you, that's 100%. You will not be able, no one will be able to prove me wrong on that. And I teach my son that, and it's a great thing to teach your kids because it's the truth. And if you have teenagers, literally sit down, have them write down who the 5 closest people are to them at school or whatever. and then go through that list and ask yourself if you want your child to be like those other 5. And if you don't, then you need to make them change who they're hanging out with. Now, if you do, tell them good job. But that is extremely important. And it doesn't matter if you're 8 years old or if you're 78. The 5 people that are closest to you is who you will be. I'm telling you, you cannot prove that wrong. So that's extremely important to understand. But that's what you were saying, and I hear that so much because it's the truth. And then another thing, you talked about how words really do hurt you. And that is one of the biggest myths ever of this. Like you said, the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That is a huge myth because words can absolutely hurt you and do hurt people. Your words can hurt people. And just like Christy said, by him, the things he said to her and telling her she was no good, and she started believing that. You need to be careful of the words that come out of your mouth, especially to people you love, especially to your children. You need to pay attention to the words that are coming out of your mouth when you're speaking to them, because words can absolutely hurt you. And you need to teach your children that too, so they watch the words that come out of their mouth, because words mean something. And Christy's a prime example. This is literally what she said, those words. And then what's one thing that brought her back around? Words from her parents when they told her they were proud of her for the first time in a long time anyway. And she said it just broke her down when they said that word. So actions are awesome, and actions mean a lot, but words do mean a lot as well.
And I wanted to tell you, I was at this shelter. After you'd been there 30 days, you got to get a pass. Do you know my parents came and got me? My son was so happy he was there to feel what it felt like, because I knew I was welcome there. I knew they wanted me there. That was just huge for me. That was the best feeling in the world to me. So that motivated me to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. And it's hard, and like I tell people, especially in recovery, you're gonna fall down. You might fall down. Some people say, you will never fall down. Yes, you will. I fell down once, but you know what I did? I didn't lay there. I got my ass right back up. I fell down one time because I went against everything they had taught me, and I went to that playground, and those people that I shouldn't have did it. But you know what? I realized real quick, whoa, I don't belong here. And I got my ass right back up. You can fall down. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. Don't lay there and wallow in it. Get right back up and keep going.
I tell you, the successful people are the ones who has fallen down the most every time, because they continue to get back up. And you are going to fall in some way or the other. You're going to fall every single day of your life. The difference between an unsuccessful person and a successful one is the successful ones continue to get back up every time. And the unsuccessful, at some point, they fall, and like you just said, they wallow in it, and they never get back up. That's literally the only difference between them.
And I think sometimes you learn more from failure than you do from success. I really think that sometimes.
No, that's a fact. I'm telling you, that is a fact. And as long as you're learning from your failures, you are moving up. Now, if you stop learning from them, that's a different problem. But one of my favorite books, and I don't know if you like to read, but John Maxwell.
I do.
He's one of my favorite authors, and I'm a certified John Maxwell.
I love John Maxwell
speaker and stuff, and I'm part of his team and been through his programs and stuff. But Failing Forward is one of my favorite books of all time.
That's one I haven't read.
Yeah, you get it, or I'll tell you what. I'll get it to you. I'll get one to you. But
okay.
I love that book, and that for everybody. I'm telling you, you need to. And all of his books are very easy read, but that one especially. But it's an awesome book, and that's exactly what it talks about. How you're going to fall every single day, but you have to get back up.
And when I was in recovery, we had different groups and stuff we joined in classes and small groups. I went to this group. We read The Purpose-Driven Life. That was a game changer for me. And I did not know that book I had never heard of it. I was reading Danielle Steele and shit like that, okay? I didn't know that that was the #2 book right behind the Bible and still is till today.
Yeah.
It's called The Purpose Driven Life, and I've got it in this house. I've got 2 or 3 of them somewhere. But I would advise anybody to read that book. And if you want these faith confessions that I said to myself every day, look, I have a vanity in my house where I put my makeup on and do my hair every day. I have those faith confessions taped to that vanity. I have those faith confessions on my refrigerator. I have them in the drawer. Don't ask me why I have them there, but I have them in the drawer in my nightstand. I keep them. Those reminders are so crucial.
No, and I'm so glad that you talked about that, and I hope everybody listened.
Another key thing, Derek, that I'm thinking of, and I'm sorry I'm in a while. What was the big game changer for me was finding my worth. I knew my worth. I found out where my worth came from. My worth was everything that Jesus said about me. So it didn't matter what nobody else said about me anymore. And I have a great support system now. My boyfriend, love him to death. Great guy. We've lived together for 4 years now, and we put God first, and he could leave me tomorrow. Might cry about it for a minute, but you know what? I know I'm gonna be fine. And see, I didn't feel that before because I was so codependent. Codependency is one of the worst addictions. Worst addiction. I just wanted to add that.
No, yeah, well, and yeah, codependency has kept a lot of people down. Has kept a lot of people
And I
from
think
their
that's what
dreams.
keeps a lot of people in the cycle of domestic violence is they don't know their worth, that codependency. And for me, my worth growing up was found because I was cute and I won these beauty pageants and all this. Well, then I had this wreck and it just totally messed with me, okay? And I gained some weight and I wasn't that cute anymore and I couldn't be a cheerleader anymore. And so changed my group of people. So then I kind of threw myself into my career for a long time. Well, then when my career was over with, I thought, okay, I find my worth in these relationships. So I became codependent on these toxic relationships because all of them were shit. And now I know nobody will ever, I will die on this hill, okay? My worth comes from what Jesus Christ says about me, and your worth comes from what Jesus Christ says about you and nobody else. And that's all there is to it. It's pretty simple. And if you don't know what he says about you, I'll send you these faith confessions and you read them to yourself every day. And even if you don't believe them, because I didn't believe them all at first, you read them every day. You keep reading them every day. Eat them 2 or 3 times a day if you can. Sometimes I'll just sit there and read them over and over. And one day it's going to click. It took me a long time because I would see some of those girls coming in there and they would have it in like 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 months. It didn't do that. Mine, and I think it's because I had so many years of it. It took me a long time, but I have such a better life now. I don't have the material things I used to have, but I have a nice home. I have a loving relationship. I have the support of my parents. My kids are good. They're healthy. And y'all, I have an obsession with plants. I never thought I would do this. Like, I have like 37 plants in my living room, okay? I'm like a big plant hoarder. And stuff like that makes me happy now. Doing stuff with my plants. You got to find out what you can start writing. I'm a great writer. I wrote this blog for a while, and people reaching out to me and just giving back and just you gotta learn to face these feelings and face your trauma and find the ways to cope with it that are not negative but positive.
I'll tell you
And
the most
that's what I had
important
to do.
thing. The most important thing you have now, by far, is your voice, and that's something you didn't have before.
No, I didn't.
And now you do, and that is the most important thing that you have now out of everything. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't have that, and that's exactly what they need. And by telling people to shut up, you're the ones trying to hold people down and keep their voice to themselves, and that's not what you should do. Whether you disagree with them or agree with them, don't tell people to shut up. Just Don't.
No.
And let me see what else I had. Oh, I wanted to hit on one thing. I think it was Brenda said something in the comments earlier when we were talking about the green substance. And I want to correct myself, or not correct myself, but I want to be more clear on what I was saying. She said that it causes lung cancer. What I should have said, and what I usually always do say, I just didn't this time. But when I say that it's not unhealthy for you, I do mean edibly, not smoking it. Because yes, you should not smoke anything. It's not good for your lungs. Not. So I wanted to be clear on that. I'm glad she brought that to my attention and said that, because that's what I mean. And legally now, where it's legal now, that's offered, and more people are taking it or using it in that manner than smoking it. Which again, yes, smoking it is not good for you. But I wanted to be clear on that and make sure that I did. And I'm, like I said, I'm glad that Brenda brought that to my attention.
I'm glad you
earlier,
said that
corrected me
too,
on that.
because what you do is you go down to Dollar General and you get you a little $3 pack of brownie mix, and there you go.
But yeah. When I say it's not unhealthy for you, and in some ways, this is my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm definitely not an expert in this. I'm just going off of. I mean, I've worked with thousands of addicts, and become very close to a lot of them. And so I'm just going off of when I put all of that together. And a lot of there is a lot of ways that it's not only is it not unhealthy for you, that it's healthy for you. And like Christy was talking earlier, for pain, that is way healthier for you than the opiates and alcohol, like we said. So we've got to change that mindset of people of how, oh, it's horrible. We have to. And I'm getting more open about that. And I hope Alabama at some point, and I know they will at some point, I just don't know how long it's going to be, actually gets, on board with the other states, and we get out of this prohibition on it. It's ridiculous. I think it'll save a lot of lives if once that becomes socially accepted, and that's the big thing. Once that becomes socially accepted, alcohol is going to start to phase out. Can y'all imagine how much better of a country we will have? I mean, seriously.
Thank you for saying that.
Like, think about that. How much better of a country will we have when we start phasing alcohol out? I mean, it's going to change a lot of lives, a lot. Anyway. I can stay on that soapbox for days.
Yeah.
But, yeah, be outspoken about that. Let me tell y'all some things that you need to be outspoken about, and that we have to all work on. We all need to be more outspoken about our mental health, because there are people out there that feel very alone and think they're the only ones that are dealing with certain things. Because again, it's a stigma that we put on ourselves, and it is still not socially accepted to be open about your mental health. And that's another thing we have to work on. We have to make that socially accepted too. That, in my opinion, will save a lot of lives as well. But if you're dealing with some serious mental health issue, talk to somebody. Please, I beg you, talk to somebody. Because I promise you, you are not alone. You're not.
Therapy has helped. I was kind of against it for a long time because I didn't want to get honest with myself. And you got to get honest with yourself. And it took me about 3 or 4, my 4th counselor till I found the one I clicked with. And I learned about this BPD, and I learned about myself. And that's when I started journaling and, things like that. And it teaches you so much. Therapy teaches you so much. I am pro therapy all the way. I am here for it. If I had it to do all over again, and I just don't think I could go back to school now. I'm too old, but I would definitely, because you can sit at home as a therapist, and you got to have a heart for it. I don't want you to do it if you ain't got a heart for it. You can sit at home, because all you got to do is these Zoom meetings now. That's all I do. I don't have to leave my house to go. They make it so accessible for you to go to therapy now. And okay, I don't have insurance, blah, 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 blah. There are so many nonprofits now that will give you therapy. And, it's there. If you need help finding a therapist, you want to go therapy, I will help you. I know a lot of organizations that do that. I wish I'd have had all this written down before, but you know me, I didn't.
You've done an amazing job, Christy. I mean, I'm not just saying that.
Anybody that wants to have
You
any
have done an
questions for
amazing
me
job.
about anything I said, and look, I'm not gonna say your name. I will never tell anybody we ever spoke. It's between me, you, and Jesus. Okay. You ain't got to worry about that. I'm not that person. I hope if you've trusted me enough to tell you the dirtiest, darkest parts of my life, that I would not do that. And if you don't trust me and you trust Derek, ask Derek and I'll get the information to him for him to give you. Because there are so many programs that people don't know about. I never knew about these programs until I went through it myself.
Yeah, they're out there. Resources are out there. But again, you just have to tell somebody. You have to
You
talk
gotta
about
ask
it.
for help.
You
You
have
gotta
to.
ask for it.
And it's extremely important. Do not be afraid to talk about your mental health. I'm telling you, please don't. For me, a therapist is a must-have, and I've had one for at least 15 years now, and for a long time. For the entire time I was in narcotics, I talked to my therapist at least twice a week without a.
I could not even imagine the things that you saw. Just the
And
things that I saw in my little circle, and that I couldn't imagine.
don't be ashamed to have a therapist. You should absolutely have a therapist. Everybody, I don't care who you are. I'll even go as far as this. If you currently do not have a therapist, you are not living the exact correct way. You need to have a therapist. It will change your life. You have to have somebody.
At least give it a try. It's
Yes.
not going to hurt anything.
You have to have somebody that you feel extremely open to, that you know is not going to judge you outside of your family. You have to. Now, that's my opinion. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just telling you what has worked for me for a lot of years, and is literally the only reason I'm still on this earth. If I had not had a therapist for as long as I have, I wouldn't still be here. I'm being dead honest. And again, that's something I'm very open about now, because I wish we need more people to be open about that. It doesn't make you weak. You're not weak because you have a therapist. You're not weak because you need to talk to somebody. The weak people are the ones who are afraid to do those things and keep it inside them. That's the weak people. Don't be afraid of that. And again, be outspoken about it. Now, I know everybody is not going to be outspoken about it, and that's understandable. I'm not saying you have to be outspoken about it. I'm just saying, don't let society hold you back from being outspoken about it. Now, if you yourself just don't want to be that open about it, that's understandable. But if you're just keeping it in because you're afraid how other people will think, what other people will think about you, you got to stop worrying about that.
For me, that was a big thing for me too. I always thought what other people was going to think about me. I didn't want to embarrass my family, blah, blah, It don't matter. All that matters is you, okay? Look, when I finally, and it took me 45 years, when I finally quit worrying about what other people thought about me, my life got 100% better. 100% better. Now, I'm a kind person. Okay? There's a difference between being nice and being kind. A lot of people don't understand that, but there is. God doesn't call us to be nice. He calls us to be good. And there's a difference. I'm not always nice. Is these videos I'm making about Nick Smith, are they nice? No, they're not. They're not. I'm not a nice person, but I'm a good person, and I'm a kind person, and I'm trying as much people that gets their attention that we can get some change. Yes, I'm doing it. I'm using the resources that I have.
And that also reminds me of something you said earlier. You hit on just a little bit when you were talking about when you were in the, I can't remember if you were when you were in the foundry or where, but you said, other people were moving faster than you. And that's another important thing that everyone needs to understand. Don't compare yourself to other people. Ever. Never. You will get nowhere comparing yourself to other people. What you need to do is compare yourself to the day before of yourself. That's it. That's the only person you should be comparing yourself to. Is who you were yesterday. And today, try to be just a little better. I'm talking about just even 1% better than you were yesterday.
1 foot in front of the other, 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time. One thing, I never really was big on AA or NA because, that's great. It works for people. And if it works, hey, I'm all for it. But one thing, I would go to those meetings and I'd be like, oh my God, all they're talking about is getting high and getting drunk. And I want to leave here and go do that. Okay. But one thing I got from those NA meetings was the gratitude list, okay? When you think that your life is just shit, you got to make that gratitude list. Hey, I ate today. Hey, I got a roof over my head. Hey, because there was times that I didn't do that. I didn't have that, but I have that now. And I'm real big on that gratitude list. And I have to do it sometimes several times a week still. I just wanted to throw that in.
No, that's awesome. And I want to say this one more time, Christy. You have been unbelievably amazing.
Funny too.
You are. You told your story so well, and it flows so great. You're natural at this, and I hope you understand that and realize that. And like I said earlier, I hope you understand how many lives you are changing and going to change. Keep your voice.
Thank you so much.
You are going to help so many people.
Thank you so much.
People. And like we were talking about earlier, you're going to fail. All you have to do is get right back up.
That's right.
That's it. But
that's another thing.
Thank you
You
enough.
Fall down 7 times, you get up 8. You fall down 527 times, you get up 528. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me talk about the Warriors. I'm going to get some information to you. I'm going to get my laptop out and type some stuff up. I'm going to make some new videos. We're going to put out this information. Write to Robert to Katie Britt. Google their address. With today, get your information at your fingertips. It's not that hard, but I'm going to give it to you just in case you don't think you can. Write to them. Tell them you want this domestic violence registry. This is a good thing.
Yeah, and doing my research on it, so Maryland has a bill going through right now that obviously we don't know if it's going to pass or not, but it's exactly what we're talking about. Tennessee also has one that's trying to move through. So as of today, not one state has one of these. Like I said, Alabama had one. A bill was written, and then it died in committee. I don't understand why. Again, I'm going to try to find out why. Definitely may not be able to find out why, but I'm going to try. But like I said earlier, I'm going to do everything I can to help this cause of that because I'm a firm believer in that. And so, but do some research on that. And I'm talking to everybody. Do some research on it. And like she said, do some research, then write them letters. And if enough people speak, they start listening. Trust me. That's the only time they listen. It has to be enough of us. But I know we can do it. And
I want to say one more thing, Derek. I keep thinking of these things. I'm so sorry. One more thing. When you have done these illegal substances and you have done it for so long, scientifically, it's if you do want to get recovery, you do want to, get help. I'm so glad that my parents and my son researched it. They researched the statistics and what worked and what failed. And it's scientifically proven that it takes 6 months for your serotonin levels in your brain to start working again. So when you see these little, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these little 30-day programs. It didn't work for me. But if you're really serious about it, I strongly advise you give yourself at least 6 months. You think, well, I don't have that long. I can't be away from my kids that long. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You might not want to, but you can do it. I just had to add that in when I thought about it.
And I want to say, taking that time for yourself to make yourself better is the most unselfish thing you could ever do.
Yes.
Not taking that time is the selfish thing. So many people get that backwards. Taking care of yourself is one of the most unselfish things you can do. And again, that's something so many people get wrong. They look at it as the opposite. If you're always putting others first, you're being pretty selfish. You may not understand that. I am telling you that's the case. You have to take care of yourself first for a lot of reasons. Number one, if you don't take care of yourself, then how the heck are you going to help other people? You're not going to be able to. Taking care of yourself is one of the most unselfish things we can do, hands down. Please everybody understand that, especially if you're an addict or former addict. Please understand that you have to take care of yourself first before you can help anybody. Don't put other people in front of yourself. You have to take care of yourself first. Then you can help other people. But until that, you're not going to be able to help anybody. Simple as that. I just wanted to throw that in there because I'm really big on that,
Derek,
and I wish more
I
people
am going to
understood that.
drop down because I could sit here and talk to you about this subject forever because that's just me, but I really have to go pee, so I have to get in my wheelchair and do all this stuff. But I love you. Thank you for everything you're doing. I'm excited about this. This has given me so much purpose. And let me tell you something. If God woke you up this morning, there is a purpose for your life. Thank you so much. Anybody, please message me. I'm serious about this. I joke around a lot and I'm goofy and I'm, whatever, but I am serious about this. I appreciate you, Derek. Reach out to me tomorrow. Anything I need to do for you, whatever, anybody. And I'm going to get these videos up and exercise your right to vote, please. Bye.
Bye, Christy. You've been amazing.
Thank you.
I hope y'all all feel as blessed as I do for her sharing her story with us. And I mean, it's amazing. And like I told her, she's going to help a lot of people, and she's going to do very big things. If you're not following her, please go follow her. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot more research on the domestic violence registry and do my part in that. And I'll once I get all that research together, I will put out a big podcast on that because like I said, I really think that will be a great thing and save a lot of lives for sure. But again, I can't thank Christy enough for sharing her story with us. And like I was saying earlier, if you are struggling with something, please talk to someone. Please, you're not alone. And like Christy just said, if you woke up this morning, you have a purpose, and everyone has a purpose. The biggest thing that we have to do in our lives is find our why. And once you find your why, your life's pretty amazing. Trust me. And your why is what you were put here to do. And sometimes it takes a long time for people to find that. But you will not find your why if you're not looking for it. I'll say that. You have to be looking for it. So if you don't have your why yet, you don't know it, start looking for it right now. If you need help with that, message me. I've been a life coach for the John Maxwell team for, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years now. And I enjoy that. And that's a big part of that is teaching people how to find, what their why is. And I'm telling you, once you find your why, your life will change. But I'm telling you, it'll change your life. But anyway, if anyone needs if there's anything whatsoever I can do for any of you, make sure you message me. If you have any info on any of the missing persons cases or unsolved unalivings, please email me at that agentdbaker.missing@gmail.com. And I will be putting out another podcast by the end of this week on 4 more cases of the missing people out of Walker County. So be looking for that. Please go watch all my videos. Watch them all the way through, like them, and then repost them, please. It's very helpful for me and gets the word out on all this stuff. If you have any information on anything, please don't hesitate to send me that information. Anything, your name, I will never, ever repeat your name under any circumstance unless you tell me to, no matter what. I am extremely protective of people that give me information. So please feel safe with telling me any information. I will never repeat your name. I do not announce it to people, nor will I ever put out any information that would point to you, such as I will never put out anything that somebody would be able to say, well, I know who told him that. I'm telling you, I'm very protective of that. So most importantly, if there's anything I can do for any of you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. It may take me a bit to get to you, but I promise you I will. I think that's about all I've got for tonight. But again, I hope y'all enjoyed that as much as I did. I mean, that was just amazing. I loved it. But I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I hope y'all have a great